So we've focused on a number of different tools that help you run campaigns, that help you make the most of events like CES, and I thought we would focus on a tool that I've actually used for a long time. So shame on me for not breaking out this tool in the toolbox before this show. So we're going to look at EMarketer. So EMarketer is, if people aren't familiar, maybe some are, is a fantastic source of research, analysis, but mostly I want to focus on the fact that you can basically sign up for a free newsletter that features all sorts of research that they aggregate as well as some of their own research that the eMarketer analysts do. It's really a fantastic source of basically all things digital marketing, stats, great graphics, infographics, and things like that. So if you don't have eMarketer in your toolbox as a marketer, you should have eMarketer in your toolbox.
So to talk a little bit more about that, why is it so important in this day and age? I mean, going through how it pertains to this entire show really as we look through it all.
So this is actually a source that I use every week, sometimes every day, to sort of keep track of all the things that are happening, not just within social media, not just within digital, but across the whole spectrum of CRM, marketing, business to business, consumer. And they do a lot of that legwork for you by aggregating together the research, the publications. And again, some of this is stuff that they're publishing and they're creating. A lot of it's, they're sort of pulling it in. And in a way, they're providing kind of a similar function of what we do with the Pulse-ons here at the Pulse Network.
No, obviously one of the things that I really want to highlight, I love stats. I'm a statistic guy myself. So when you look at some of the stats, let's talk about U.S. ads, what they spend. I mean, the numbers and the money is absurd.
So I wanted to focus in on just as an example of the types of things you can get. So this is actually some research, and we're looking at it right now. And I don't want to underplay how momentous this is, where people who've been around the online advertising space, who've been around the digital marketing space, when I first started looking at online advertising back at McKinsey, gosh, more than a decade ago, online advertising was about $3 or $4 billion. Now, a decade later, the projections are that it's going to be 10 times that. But that's not the only thing that's impressive about the growth, is that for the first time, it's going to exceed print advertising. And this is, people kind of been thinking about this for a long time. The fact that this is now projected to happen, it's huge. And it not only signals, I think, a shift of really the mainstream adoption of online, but also it shows that there's still an awful lot of upside, because we look at the overall spending on advertising and it's $300 or $400 billion. Online is still relatively small compared to all the other mediums. The fact that we've gotten to where we are right now, but yet there's still so much upside, I think that even plays into one of the themes that Esteban's going to talk about is, we've only just begun in terms of not only online, but also social.
Well, I think one of the interesting things about all of this is, we see, well, like you just said, gosh, it was 10 years ago. But that's only 10 years. About how fast this has actually progressed in just 10 years. That's one of the things that really kind of catches my eye more than anything.
Well, and we talk a lot about social media, and we kind of just assume that it builds on top of online adoption. So you're not using Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn unless you're online. And so it's amazing how we've sort of just assumed that everybody's connected. And likewise, we also assume that there's a volume of dollars that supports all this great content. So we talk about content all the time here at the Pulse, and content is king. But at the end of the day, somebody has to pay for that content to be created, either directly in the production of that content or in terms of a sponsor or an underwriter or advertising or things like that. And if you look at the early days of online, really the eyeballs were there before the content, before the advertising was there. And so in a way, it's taken a decade, but now advertising kind of caught up with the fact that basically online has become not just a channel, but a major media channel and a major content channel.